Welcome back to Morning Brew with the Homeowners. I'm your host, Dmitry Lipinski. Today, I have a full studio in the house. I have Mike, Sam, and Kenny all the way from Maryland. We did podcast earlier, and he stayed for the radio. And today we cover a lot, on this channel we cover a lot of insurance fraud, and usually it's cases with the contractors, but it's not just our industry that has this problem. Today we're going to have some fun talking about some of the craziest insurance scams of all time, from Texas to Australia and right here in Minnesota. So the first story I want to discuss with you guys is Bungled Bugatti case. In 2009, a luxury car dealer drove his $1 million Bugatti into a swamp, claiming that he swerved to avoid a pelican. His goal was to collect $2.2 million insurance payout, and the problem was that another driver caught the whole thing on video, and there's no pelicans in sight. What's the story, Sam?
So there's so much behind this. This Bugatti is like famous in the car world. It's known as the Galveston Bay Bugatti. It's traded hands. Ton of YouTubers have been a part of it. So yeah, it was the Galveston Bay. This guy's driving along. If you saw the clip, you'd seen it before. It was like 10 years ago now. But yeah, the guy just straight into the bay with the car, engine still running, and some teenagers driving by were recording because there's a Bugatti driving and caught the whole thing. But this is like the very start of it. So this car, the guy went to prison for 10 months for the insurance fraud, got out, and the craziest part was the car still had a clean title because the insurance claim never went through because it was fraudulent. So he sells it to an exotic car dealership, and this exotic car dealership takes an $890,000 loan against it. They bought it for like $300,000. Like under the table is what happened with it. So they pull an $890,000 loan. They're working on rebuilding it. The guy they're having rebuild this thing is the same guy that the insurance company hired to like investigate and figure out the extent of damage. Well, then that exotic car dealership that bought it goes bankrupt. So now the bank goes to repossess the car, and the guy goes, well, I have a mechanic lien against it because that guy wasn't paying my bills. Long story short, the bank ends up giving this mechanic the title for it. He sells it to this physician dude. The physician dude has it for a while, wants to rebuild it, can't rebuild it. And then he goes, all right, well, I need help selling it. He goes back to the mechanic, goes, who do you know that can sell this car? And it ends up being the original owner that drove into the bay, ends up helping sell it. And so I don't remember what it traded for. I believe it's been rebuilt since. I think it traded for like $650,000, something like that now. But yeah, just like fraud after fraud with this car. It's like the cursed car all the way through. Do you guys deal with a lot of Bugatti frauds in Maryland?
No, not a lot of Bugatti frauds. I've never seen a Bugatti in Maryland. The only Bugatti I think I've ever seen was Kurt Lennington's in Texas. So I guess I'm not fancy enough. We're not fancy enough in Maryland to see Bugattis, but probably more insurance fraud.
Here's my question to you guys. Why do you think we still have this problem in America about anything on the road? I've seen recently several clips where people cut each other off and then they back into them. I mean, we have so many cameras. Every Tesla records 24/7 around them. You have door cameras, right? Like those ring cameras. Why people are not afraid to be filmed? And plus, everybody has a cell phones.
Yeah,
I would blame it on incompetence. Like people just don't realize that they don't think about it. They don't think it through. Like that's the case with most criminals. Why they get caught is they didn't think it all the way through. And I think a lot of people.
But do you think it eventually will prevent the crime? I was in China 2 years ago in Shanghai, and they don't have a crime problem. Like nobody steals cars, because surveillance is everywhere. It's in every corner. Everybody knows that everybody's being watched. I know here we like our freedom, but we give away that freedom when we sign up for the phones, for the cars, for everything, right? Like Americans kind of already halfway there, but why mentality is not changing?
I think when you're doing stuff, you just don't think anybody's looking. That's what it is. When you're doing something, I mean, that guy when you watch the video, he's in the middle of what he thinks is nowhere. It's not like there was overpasses or he was at an intersection. He was by a lake, and there were some white birds that he drove past, but at the moment when he did that, there were no birds on the road at all. So he probably just thought, you know what? Impulsive, pulled off the road and crashed into it. And I think when it comes to most people here that we're talking about dealing with fraud, I think that most people just don't think that people are watching. I mean, and you're absolutely right. I mean, between ring cameras, you're going to have almost every neighborhood covered. Between the cars and intersections, the cameras are everywhere, and everybody's trained to, before they call 911, pull out their phone and go like this. So, I mean, I think most cases, if somebody's doing fraud in these scenarios, are just kind of stupid.
As somebody who's been on the other side of the law and a long past iteration of myself, I would say that my guess would be he probably thought he probably didn't put enough thought into it, and if he did put thought into it, because you said the video, it was super rural and he just had some really crappy luck because he had kids that just happened to be there. And B, not thinking through the fact that he's driving a Bugatti, which is attracting all kinds of attention. But in my experience, it's like, because I thought I would plan for everything, but sometimes like criminals oftentimes do things out of desperation. And so like desperate doesn't tend to, I don't know, like lead to a whole lot of forethought. So I think the more this happens, the more, Dimitri, to your point, yes, I do think that the more that happens and people just accept that like there's a camera on every car, it will at least mitigate that, because that'll eventually just stop.
I mean, think about how many Uber and Lyft drivers we have, and all of them equipped now with the cameras for security. I installed, my oldest daughter now drives, and I installed two cameras actually. I went to Best Buy and I got one because, if my daughter gets in an accident, I don't want anybody to take advantage of the situation. She's 18. She doesn't know what to say. Who knows what happens on the road, right? So I have a camera recording behind her and in front of her, but I noticed that my kids' behavior changed when the camera was installed. They're like, "Is this always recording?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like I've never taken it out yet. I've never taken a SD card. How do you guys feel about employees driving company vehicles always being watched? We recently went to Barker's Roofing, and they have these cameras in their cars. And actually, if you are on your phone, it will start notifying HR that you're texting and driving. I mean, I would be in violation.
I think both the previous question and that question come back to a lot of people consider a lot of things they do a victimless crime. They know it's wrong, but they're like, it's victimless, right? Like, I'm going to drive my Bugatti into the ocean, and the insurance company has enough money to cover it. Same as we deal with a lot of videos of roofers causing damage, and their thought is like, well, the insurance company can't afford to pay for a $20,000 roof. They think it's victimless. They don't think about the long-term effects and really even thinking about it as being illegal. They think they're going after someone. And so on the same sense is, what was the last thing? The
Cameras in the car.
Cameras in a car and the employees.
Oh, the employees. Yeah, same thing. An employee, you'll hear it all the time, especially again, like corporate world, people don't look at their employers as more than a company. They're like, oh, well, the company can pay for it. Oh, they have workers' comp. Like, oh, I won't actually get in trouble until something goes wrong. Right?
But does behavior change in your opinion when we install those?
Yeah, I think there's more accountability with it, but I think at the end of the day, someone's going to do it with the cameras. They'll probably do it without the cameras.
I think with driving, I don't think so. I think that they're going to definitely be on their best behavior. They're going to remember, unless they just get super comfortable and forget. But most people, I think a lot of drivers, they're going to remember. They're not going to they're not going to put their hand up to smoke to do the phone. They'll talk on speakerphone and they'll say, "Hey, I can't pick up the phone. I'm driving. I have to pretend I'm driving like this." You know what I mean? So
I would bet though that it kind of escalates the same ways. Like at first, the cameras in there, they're like, "All right, I'm going to behave." Well, then after they vape once or smoke once the car, they pull their phone out once, don't get in trouble, they'll start doing a little bit more by more by more until they're back to what they were previously doing. Unless the company's strictly enforcing it right off the bat, I think
as an employer though, I don't like people recording any and everything, but I think as an employer, your logo's on that truck. If they hit somebody, I mean, I've personally one time went to go back up and I didn't, in this big company van, and I bumped this person behind me. The lady gets out and she's wobbling because she's 9 months pregnant. I'm just like, company truck, But I think that a lot of people will behave and drive better. And as a company owner, you got to insure your own stuff and you got to mitigate your loss, man.
That's a good point as an owner. I mean, enforcing it is the big thing. To your point, like if it's just cameras in there, I do think it'll change off the rip. But then if they get away with it, yeah, they probably won't. And then it just becomes a consequence thing relative to like if something happens, then we have to go check the cameras. Whereas like if there's an alert, like you were saying, when it gets raised up and it's constantly like ringing bells and stuff, if that's happening, I do think it would actually change the behavior.
Love it. I'm going to summarize it with this. I think cameras do change behavior, and I think bad people, your Karens, people who overreact should be on alert and should be called out. That's why on YouTube, as a YouTuber myself, I absolutely love seeing, cops arrest, cameras, like reactions, because if you're doing something illegal, you should be recorded, and you don't get to tell people stop recording, whether you're insurance adjuster on the roof declining the coverage or whatever the case is. We should be accountable to someone. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to bring you another crazy story about dead man hiking. Don't go anywhere. It's going to be good.
This storm will not win.
What happened to this guy?
His inside sales rep booked in for another inspection during a storm. We finally caught up to him.
If only he had Agent One, the AI agent custom built for roofers. It follows up on leads instantly, confirms homes on Google Street View, checks the weather, and even keeps appointments within a close range on your calendar.
If a roofer were listening to this, they could try it completely for free. Just fill out the form.
Roofers are already seeing 3-to-1 returns in profit. They'll never miss a lead or end up like that guy.
Did I close the deal?
No. Your competitor had Agent One.
And we are back. Keep drinking coffees. It's probably fourth or fifth cup for me today. Thank you for joining us today. Second story today, Dead Man Hike, and Mike has details.
All right, an Australian multimillionaire named Harry Gordon faked his own death to get $3.5 million in life insurance payout. His wife, Sheila, filed the claim, but the insurance company refused to pay. They continued investigating the incident for 5 years. Meanwhile, Gordon ran off into New Zealand with a fake passport, and Sheila told her daughter he was in a witness protection. It all came crashing down when Gordon bumped into his brother on a hiking trip with his new wife, Christine. His brother told Sheila, who finally came clean.
All right, the number one thing if you ever fake your own death and move across the world is don't go somewhere touristy where someone could see you. Like, you got to go into the Himalayas and hide out. Like,
my first question is $3.5 million enough money to fake your own death and stay in hiding?
No.
Well, for some,
depends on the day.
Depends on the day. I mean, like you're talking about, like, 2000, like back, it's like $10 million today. So yes,
maybe if I went to a third world country and I could be king, but I don't think $3.5 million is enough money.
Well, in 2000 it was actually plenty. I mean, but the whole hiking thing. We actually have another story here in the United States very similar. The person he went on a boat in, I think it was Minnesota, and he went to Canada. Same thing, insurance fraud. It's just crazy for me. Like, what do you think, guys, happening in that hat? Do you think it's moral corruption or is it like mental sickness?
Well, I know one of the backgrounds of the story was he claimed that he was having trouble with like Ukrainian business association or associates and gangsters. So it was like people were coming after him. So it's tough to say. Was it? It's hard when if you're running from people, do you still take the life insurance payout or do you just fake a death and leave, right? Maybe the $3.5 million insurance payout was like proof, like, no, he actually died. Life insurance investigated. They paid out. So was it part of that alibi more than it was actually for the money?
Yeah, I believe that if you're dealing with organized crime, you just really don't know what the threats were and what was happening. I'm sure this guy, if he had money, he's usually the more money you have, the more accessible you are. So he probably had a lot of vulnerability, places where he was vulnerable with his family and everything. He could have got a serious threat, and they gave him the plan. I mean, you just never know.
Also, to have a $3.5 million life insurance plan in 2000, like, that's quite a bit. Even nowadays, people don't have that much, and life insurance has grown a lot over the last decade.
Yeah, what was he doing to where he was even worth that and to throw that away? But also with the whole Ukrainian business gangsters, it says the police said that was bogus, that it was greed. So, which, who knows? I mean,
So he wrote a book, How I Faked My Own Death, and did not get away with it.
What were the sales on that book?
I was going to say, did he make any money? Did he make $3.5 million on that book?
I'm just curious who. I think that's why people watch true crime in general, to get away with a crime or not to get killed. Like, why do we watch it? Why would anyone write?
If you buy a copy of that book, you're ending up on a watch list of some kind. They're looking out. If you buy that book, it's in your Amazon history. Your life insurance is never getting paid out. They're just going to assume.
He did 15 months in jail, so 15 months for $3.5 million.
But he did not.
No way he got to keep it.
He did not get the money.
Oh, he didn't get it.
No, he didn't get it.
Oh, okay.
They didn't pay it. So his wife got 5 months. He got 50. What's always cute in a court when they start looking at your Google searches, like in the murder cases and the cases like that, because insurance companies will hire the best investigators, and if you're like that officially, right, like you can't remove your computers, you can't remove, I think ChatGPT will be used against us when we
100%.
start committing crimes, right?
100%. They've already talked about it. Your ChatGPT, everything that's in ChatGPT can and will be used against you. It is not yours. You do not own it. I remember back years ago when they had that, I think it was a mayor somewhere in Detroit, and his text, they deleted them. They went back 2 years. After the Texan used 2-year-old text against him. So who knows how the laws have changed. I'm pretty sure they're not moving in our favor. So I would think that the more that we put into these devices in the future, can and will be used against us.
Yeah, so don't go using ChatGPT to figure out how to get away with killing yourself or hide bodies or any of those types of things.
Only use it to talk about how to promote the book and get a movie deal.
There you go.
Because people
The crazy part is running into his brother. Was his brother or brother-in-law?
His brother.
Yeah, his brother on a hiking trip. Imagine thinking your brother's dead for like 5 years. And
Harry,
then
is
bumping
that
into
you?
him.
Dude sucks, man, because there's no way I could do that. You know what I mean? Like me and my brother. Could you do that and then like not tell your siblings? Like I'd have to let my whole family in on it. Like,
But then
I'm not actually dead, so don't trip. I'm just gonna go fake my own death. In which case, that's gonna blow it all up because they're gonna talk sense into you. So I don't know. He must have been in a weird spot.
So
Or
he
just-
didn't tell his wife. So because Sheila finally came out and told. They must have had a troubled marriage. I mean, why didn't they just move together?
They divorced afterwards.
His
too.
own people snitched on him.
After the scam was uncovered, Garner Sheila got divorced and somehow convinced Christine to marry him again for real this time. This is just, the whole story is insane. I mean, what's going through your mind?
The thing that would bug me most about this, like I've thought about like the whole what happens when somebody fakes their death. I thought about it when Tupac disappeared and the whole Machiavelli thing. And I was like, what's enough money and how, I mean, at what point are you just exhausted? Like, when you watch those fugitive movies and they're constantly on the run, it just looks like constant stress. And at some point, most of those guys just turn themselves in. I got a buddy who's a U.S. Marshal, and there are a certain percentage of guys that just get fed up and they're just like, I'm done, man. It's like, I'm tired of being paranoid,
Is it even possible with the technology to disappear? I feel like the only way you can do it if government protects you, like one of those protections.
If you're actually in witness protection.
Plastic surgery.
Unlike what they said, which was they just pretended to be.
But they're still going to find you. Like,
not if they get a BBL, a butt lift, and change your hair color.
Which is 50-50 these days.
Just stay off the trails.
Man.
Well, the way things are going now with oversight, I mean, not to get all like conspiratorial, but like,
No, get conspiratorial.
Palantir essentially would say otherwise. They're gonna
Who?
Palantir.
Palantir.
You of all people, Palantir. What's the guy? The CEO, the two CEOs.
Yeah.
Basically, just like
ChatGPT guy. No.
he was originally part of the. Anyhow, he's the guy that's obsessed with like the Antichrist. He's what's his name?
Peter Thiel.
Peter Thiel.
Yeah.
Basically, he's got carte blanche in a government contract to just spy on everybody. That's the whole deal. Now you're going to go down a real weird rabbit hole when we get off of here. So I'm surprised you don't already know about that.
That was part of the stuff with ICE. They were saying that they were using Palantir supplying data to ICE to like find where people were, and so like essentially like Watchdog, that old video game. If you remember, like government sees everything. It's like we have that. We just pretend we don't. Like in America, of course that's going on. We know the government's watching us 24/7, but we pretend like we're free from it.
And part of the stuff with the newest administration that was a big gripe of people's was like, what the hell is this contract? Heck is this contract? Where now the government's essentially saying that, we're going to spy on everything and all everything. I mean, it's just I don't know. I remember the whole
you have cases like this where you have to find a person or prove that someone didn't die. You want to hear a crazy story? How get rid of the body? Like it's actually from Russia, from 90s. If you want,
where this is going.
If you want to get rid of the body, there's a hack. Like
not literal.
Top hacks to get rid of bodies from removing insides.
Back in the day, in 90s, we have very high crime in Russia, and what they were doing, imagine graveyard. So where people, so they would do. Actually, there's a law now. They don't dig holes day before. So it has to be like the same day. And the reason is what they would do, bad people like criminals would do. They would dig a hole because tomorrow is a funeral. They would come, dig a hole a little bit bigger, put a body there, and then put put dirt on it.
Wow.
And then next day during the funeral, they would put another body on it. Nobody will ever look because there's actually a body there, but underneath there is another body from the day before. So if you want to get rid of the body, you go to a cemetery, like see whose funeral tomorrow, just dig a little bit deeper, put it there.
Mike, stop writing this down.
Yeah, right, I've done this before. Next time that adjuster will buy the roof.
Oh my God. You're about to get a cease and desist for that one.
Just joking. Hell.
You didn't say you were kidding. So,
but the only cases where I have seen where people did something, fake their death, was there was another body involved.
Yeah.
Like car accident, burnout.
Do you ever wonder if more people get away with this stuff than we know? Because the only time we hear about the stories or movies are made of it or makes the news is once they get caught, right?
Look at FBI most wanted list. I mean, there's literally criminals right now. They're somewhere in the world. They scammed people out of hundreds of millions of dollars, and they cannot find them.
Do you think it's just the government, when they point the direction, they're like, all right, now we want to pursue this, and they send the resources towards it, they release the data to those people that are going to go after them, that it can happen? Like, do you think the government could catch any of those people if it was a high enough priority?
I think I'm very sure if it was a high enough priority, they would get them.
Yeah, not to go down a conspiracy hole, but it's kind of the political agenda. What's going to look good, what's not, I also think it's probably easier to leave some people on that.
Shout out to my military friends who are the people who go get those people.
Yeah.
It's interesting times because on the one side, like I think government is big enough to do anything they want, but at the same time, we do have these cases where they just can't, or they don't want to, or, McAfee, Epstein, like who else? Like people say that they did not die. I mean, who knows? Like we don't know. Like you see what the media wants you to see, but if you review the footage, I mean, how do you explain? Here's the real question. So, Epstein case, right? How do you explain missing footage? Like, there's a camera, like, right there in the jail.
Somebody made it missing.
Right. Right. That's awfully convenient.
Yeah.
Before we go, I don't know if we have enough time left in this section to go through. Dive into Epstein. That'll be next week's episode.
Next week episode, not sure about that. But I would say this. I truly like that government is not necessarily watching, but doing something about it. I genuinely like the system here because if you kill someone, they'll find you in other countries. They'll go to Mexico. They'll go, actually justice will be served if you do something. And insurance have money. They're not going to just pay $3-4 million. They're going to spend a couple $100,000 on an investigation. That couple $100,000 is going to go a long way. All right, I hope next story will be a little bit more pleasant. It's the greedy granny story. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
I love it when people want to target by income. I mean, come on. When's the last time someone showed you their W-2?
Hey, bro, you want to see my W-2?
Never. But you know what we can see? The house that they're living in. If someone can afford to live in a $750,000 house, I don't have to guess if they can afford our services. They're already proving it. That's why home value is our gold standard for targeting.
And we are back for another story for you. My team keep roasting me for how much coffee I drink. You know what? There's no such a thing as too much coffee. Don't listen to anyone. Enjoy your morning brew. Be yourself.
But
Coffee
limit yourself at 4 cups, all right?
Panic attacks start. You should probably stop.
Yeah.
I'm right there on the borderline.
Kenny, what's the greedy granny story?
The greedy granny, a 73-year-old grandmother named Isabel Parker, made a 15-year career out of slip and fall fraud. She collected $500,000 from insurers by lying on the ground in retail stores, claiming that she tripped on cords and cracks. No one questioned the sweet old lady until she tried it at a liquor store in 2000. Investigators discovered that she had been using the scam to fund her gambling habit.
And this is what I call resourcefulness, right? Like, use it, leverage it. If you're a sweet old lady, that is the time to commit fraud. No one's going to question you.
So
genius.
Me and Kenny was talking today earlier about addiction to some people, and I feel like when you have the accident, like some people just have addictive personality, and I have seen in our industry, actually, when I had my company, Stormgroup Roofing, I had one guy working for me. He was doing the gutters, and in the wintertime, he slipped, so he wanted to file a claim. And what I found out later, that 2 years before me, he already pulled it off. So he did not have to work for 1 year because WorkComp paid him. And he came to work. It's like what I learned later is that he has a second job. Here in Minnesota, it's very popular. In the wintertime, the construction workers would go and remove snow overnight. So what happened is he was taking that gig, removing the snow, and broke his hand. And then next morning came to me and said, "Do you have a work order for me?" I gave him a work order to clean the gutters from ice or whatever it was, because it was winter time now, I remember. And he came and he said, "I injured my wrist or like broke something." I was like, "How did you do it?" He tried to show, but we have on camera him talking to my receptionist and to me in two different stories. So the story was not matching up. He filed a claim and my insurance denied it because the story was so crazy. The point is this, like this lady and my guy had the same thing in common. They've tried it one time, they have the taste of easy money, and now they're gonna start repeating it.
I think you're right. The word addiction. I think a lot of people turn it into an addiction, like the old folks at the slot machines, and it's just you get a little win, and I think that's an addictive personality that people get when they get away with something. They get the little rush, and it's a small adrenaline rush. Except for this one comes with a paycheck at the end of it. So sometimes fraud looks like the creepy big guy on TV or this mastermind criminal, and sometimes it looks like your grandmother. You just don't know it.
I think a lot of times, to your point, like it starts as like something small, and then they realize they can get away with it, gets bigger and bigger, right? Like this lady started, I mean, it was obviously before the 2000s or early 2000s, cameras weren't as prevalent, but she's probably taking these and taking the first settlement, right? So she's probably getting 10, 15, 20 grand, whatever, right? Whatever the insurance company's willing to offer. Well, they're not going to investigate. It's not worth it. It's when you go in and claim larger amounts or do it to the same person twice type of thing. But I think a lot of people, same as roofing, right? You'll see people fake damage on a $10,000, $20,000 roof and get away with it. And the next thing you know, they're doing it on a commercial building where it's in that insurance company's incentive to really investigate it. So, if you're going to commit fraud and go down this type of rabbit hole, it's probably important to stay small. And I think too many think it's a scalable thing, and it's not.
I want to reverse engineer it to the corporate world, because I also see that people behind the desk, corporations, when they have the same rush when they deny the claim and get away with it?
Yeah.
They denied it one time, they denied it 2 times. Now it's becoming a business model.
Yeah, and that's just which
same addiction.
Yes, 100%, and that is problematic.
They're playing whack-a-mole with your claim.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and they won't. And then and on that side, they behave the way, and I can say this from personal experience, like we'll have like plenty of gotcha. Like we enlisted John Sinek to be on our board and help us, and he did. He increased our claims from 48% to 75%. But there will be moments in which, and we've invested tons of time, effort, energy, and money to make sure that we do things the right way, legally, and catch people in gotcha moments. And we'll be in that gotcha moment, and they'll just flat out we don't care, denied. It's just because there's no governing body that they have so much money and so much power. So the problem on that side is if they start behaving that way, we'll go to jail. What happens to you?
Yeah, when you find somebody that catches people, I think you get good at it, right? And then you become that person.
Yeah.
If you're working on an open floor and there's these cubicles and everybody's got these claims job, the desk adjuster, you become the guy that's always catching people. Pretty soon you start looking for it, and you start, and I think that's a big reason why a lot of the claims adjusters are skeptical when they walk onto a roof, because us as contractors, we're like, hey, we're here to take care of the client and look at the damage, and they're like, hey, I'm here to look to see if there's other stuff going on too. So which is one reason why when you guys meet adjusters out there as contractors, to not treat them any sort of way, because you don't know what they're dealing with or what they just walked away from. But I think they do carry skepticism with them when they come to the claims because of those things. Also, if they do become the adjuster that continues to catch fraud, then they're looking for it, being skeptical when it's not there, and when it actually is damage, then that creates an unnecessary fight.
Well, and I will step in and say that's very systematic and intentional, right? State Farm has a brochure that they distribute to the public, to homeowners, that's how to identify hail damage to your asphalt shingles. That's what it's titled, something similar to that at least. And then it's got one photo about yay big of hail damage, and then it's got 4 or 5 photos this big showing all things that aren't hail. You've seen it, right? This is wear and tear. This is blistering. This. And it's like, how to identify hail damage, or here's all the things we're going to accuse it of being that aren't hail damage. And like, so from the top down, they know that. That started with the Allstate stuff back in the 80s. You saw Senator Hawley ripping into Allstate about last year and bringing up a lot of that stuff. And it's, I would say it's systematic from the top down.
Yeah. And the bigger problem it's not a big, in this instance with this lovely lady here, she, she broke the law and there is a consequence. But when it's the other way around, and let's say the insurance carrier was, I don't know, constantly denying legitimate claims of some other poor old lady, like, where's the consequence on that end? That's the only thing is I'd love to see the playing field leveled there, because there's the local municipality or the local governing bodies, the insurance commissions. They don't. Often the insurance commissioner is going to go take a job at State Farm when they step down. I've seen it a multitude of times, even locally. So like,
I'll tell you the reason it'll never change and it'll never be a level playing field is at the end of the day, for an insurance company, even a $20,000 claim, if an insurance company can find a way to deny a $20,000 claim, it saved them $20,000. So when they want to deny a claim, they have $20,000 leverage they can use against it. For a contractor, how much leverage do they have? They have whatever their profit's going to be. Call it $5,000 out of that $20,000. So the insurance company has $20,000 they can spend fighting it. You have $5,000. How much does the homeowner have? $0. Because the homeowner not only has to pay their deductible, but like the whole claim has to go towards repairs, or it's going to be the cost of the repairs. So they'd have to come out of pocket in total. So it's one of those where the house always wins. There is no point where the playing field's ever level. The insurance company can spend $20,000 fighting it. A contractor can spend $5,000. A homeowner is coming completely out of pocket to fight it. You're never going to have those numbers lean any way where the house doesn't win.
Which that would even be, I don't know, I guess just like a fair shake at, I don't know, not criticizing, a fair shake at controlling and correcting bad behavior. I don't know what else to say. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only thing I guess I would ask for. And there doesn't seem to be that anywhere.
My question to you guys about this lady, what do you think her biggest problems, and how would you fix or help this person? So she has obviously a gambling problem, gambling habit. Now she has 47 alliances, 11 different addresses. So at the end, she got 20 counts of insurance fraud, and she was served 4 years under the house arrest, probably because of her age. But how do you help a person like that? Like the serial scammer, do you think those people can change? Is it a mental? Is it?
I think she can change. At 73 years old, how much? First of all, let's go backwards. How much time does she have left to live? The threat of that guilt and that sentencing for her is the end of her life. There's no more hugging your grandkids.
4 years. She got 4 years.
I mean,
that was probably the leniency. That was probably the leniency right there. They're like, listen, we're going to give you 4 years, which to you is 25% of your life. You know.
I mean, I give a little benefit of the doubt. My thought is this lady's like, after this is probably done, right? Because what happened? She did this consistently and no trouble happened, and then she got caught and it all caught up to her, right? If she got caught in the first one, I think she probably wouldn't have done the other 19, right? So I think it's kind of like what we were talking about before in the other story with the cameras is like, if you put cameras in a company vehicle to watch your employees, if you hold them or give consequences the first time they do it, it probably won't happen again, right? But when you let them get away with it 20 times and then you catch them, it probably won't happen again, but you also gave it away 20 times.
So in our industry with when there's claims, right, we know there's a software that the insurance companies can watch to see if somebody were to claim the same damage twice, for example. I wonder if there's software where they kind of mark these things, because I heard of somebody else that I know, a friend of a friend. They have a girlfriend that they talk to, and she has a chipped tooth, and she has been known to go to different places and act like she chipped her tooth on the cup when there's drinking and sue those places. And there's no way for those places to communicate or be tied into each other, and they can just constantly just hit the slot machine and see if money comes out. And that's what this is. So I wonder if there's now, or they're developing a software to do that and say, okay, your name showed up 20 times for the same action, we're investigating you.
Yeah, I would say the nationwide systematic issue we have, maybe it's Western culture and we can go down a whole rabbit hole on this, but people, especially like that, think like that's the only way for them to get by. Some do it for the rush. Some are just straight up criminals that like doing it because they're not supposed to do it. But I think a lot of them are like, well, I'm never going to be able to afford a house otherwise. Like, oh, I can't find a decent job, right? Like things have got difficult to the point where people have to do this. When the economy's good, you see a lot less of this, right? Like people are able to find good jobs, pay for houses, have food, all that stuff. It's when things start getting tighter for the bottom that you see this happening, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
The sue-happy nature of the current culture, yeah.
And I believe slip and falls are the number one fraud that most people, insurance companies deal with. And I think the thing that makes a claim go through is if it's their high frequencies, their low dollar amounts, and low emotional problems with them. And when it keeps going on, I just think with those claims when they're happening, if people get caught sooner, it won't happen. That's that.
I'll say this. I think that a real character and acts of kindness can fix moral problems like these people have. In my experience, maybe this person doesn't know right from wrong anymore. And in my experience, if you get into an environment where people will not sacrifice the truth no matter what, like the leader, like if you work for the business owner who will pay all the employees even when business lose money, it will change you. Like maybe your industry is full of crooks, nobody's doing what's right. It doesn't matter if you're on the corporate side or you're on a small business side. When you do what's right, people around you see it and it will affect them. That's my opinion. When we come back from the break, we'll have one more story to share. Don't go anywhere. And we are back with the last story of the day. I stopped drinking coffee officially. Sam, go ahead.
We've talked about life insurance companies. We talked about property insurance. Now let's talk about medical insurance. So this story was a Minnesota couple is accused of turning Medicare into a personal piggy bank. Prosecutors say they made $15 million by charging insurers for neurofeedback therapy sessions, sometimes claiming to see hundreds of patients in a single day. They used the cash to fund luxury cars, vacations, strip clubs, and a mansion full of polyamorous live-in girlfriends. Now they say the money's gone.
All right. So typical story and not typical story, right?
That was the couple.
Okay. Oh. Yeah. And you have him saved as a contact on your phone?
No. I actually took a picture of your phone when you were texting coming out of the bathroom.
Hey. There's a lot of spicy details here. So they run from 2018 to 2025 through their company Golden Victor Medical. They built Medicare, Medicaid, and private insurance using incorrect, impossible medical codes.
Why is Minnesota the center of all medical insurance fraud?
Well, we have a lot of reasons we could say.
We have so many companies and too many companies who look away. Like they truly look away. They know how to play the system, run with it. And I mean, look at this. $453,000 at the strip and nightclubs in Minneapolis and Miami Beach. $96,000 at the restaurants. $42,000 towards the 2021 Rolls Royce, including $8,500 monthly payments. I mean, how do they think they're going to get away with it? But this is one story busted, and you know there's way more
Hundreds
similar
of more
stories.
that haven't been.
The case started as a sex trafficking investigation before pivoting to medical fraud. Jeez, one thing open to another.
Is that the mansion full of polyamorous live-in girlfriends that
yes
drew that attention?
Here's my question. Do you remember when Elon Musk was doing like with the Dodge all the investigation, like one investigation and the charges on the government, and they were exposing it?
Oh, the Doge stuff you're talking
about?
Yeah.
I never understood why people were so mad about it. There's like so many people in society was like not okay with it. Like for me, I want to hear this every day. I want to hear people go to jail who steals from society. Like, does this bother anyone?
No, my question for you is, do you think for every one story like this that we hear about that gets caught, do you think there's 2 others doing it? Do you think there's 10 others? Do you think there's hundreds others?
I think there's a lot more.
You think like hundreds more that don't get caught? Or do you think this really is like the majority of them get caught?
No.
Our judicial system does what
I
it's supposed
actually
to?
have a unique, so I guess I can because she's no longer working there, but my wife, I'm thinking as I'm saying this, my wife used to work for an organization for the government as an attorney that specialized in fraud, right? Like they would go and chase down the fraud, and similar to Doge. In fact, she was irritated with some of the reportings and findings for Doge, like the Medicaid fraud. You know, she was irritated in the fact that like they're like, well, yeah, it was like $6 billion in fraud, and she's like, well, okay, but we deal with that every year, and we got back $7 billion. So like we made the United States money in that, like we go out, we prosecute, and we get the money back. Like, you know, we're constantly fighting this fraud, and then all of the government like cutting made it to where like now we're even less equipped to be able to combat this fraud, and now we're exposing more and more and more fraud, and we've never been more poorly equipped to do anything about it because of all the chopping of like.
You mean too many fires, not enough firefighters?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Right. And then now it's even less firefighters, and we're exposing more and more fires that were already there, but like it's like, well, there's no wonder why nothing's getting done because like there's no one to do anything about it. You know,
I actually, in this story, and slightly off top from what you're going with, is that I almost am glad stuff like this happens. Almost. I'm not glad it happens, but there's a slight part of me that, I'm not sure the term for it, but wanting the Robin Hood life, right? Like stealing from the rich, giving to the poor.
Yeah.
Although what they spent the money on probably wasn't the best. Like these people did steal millions and millions of dollars from an insurance company, which we saw in the last couple of years what people really thought about, medical insurance. And they gave it to, for lack of a better term, local businesses. Now it was strip clubs, nightclubs, and luxury stuff, but restaurants even, right? Like
I love your
they
perspective, man.
They gave $96,000 to restaurants. Who else do you know is giving $96,000 to small businesses, right?
They should have came and bought some roofs for me.
$94,000 transferred to various women via Tinder, Cash App, and Zelle.
Once again, small businesses.
I mean,
These are
that's some college funds.
I know families. I hear there's
education.
Families.
But there's all these people that are like, oh, insurance companies are terrible. It's like, you should hear a story like this, be excited, be like, man, look at all the people that got that money. Because the people that are stealing it, you guys are judging me for this. But
no, I can't say it. I feel like if I say it, they're going to start like, oh, he's from the hood or something.
I'm glad you guys finally agreeing on something.
Get the money back to the people.
Like, no, give the money to your local strip clubs, restaurants, and exotic dealerships. I mean, no, at the end of the day, it is taking money from the rich. It's giving to the poor. It's the Robin Hood story everyone loves. It's just the people in the middle we're not a fan of. Right?
It's a Christian radio that we are airing.
That's good. This is Christian. I mean, I'm sure church was involved.
He was tithing.
Look, they married how many women? Those marriages had to take place somewhere. Right? Yeah. That's going to the church at some extent.
Right?
You have to imagine.
Polyamorous living girlfriends.
Right. It says they were wearing wedding
do
rings.
Do you know what?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, wedding rings and claim to be in a consensual relationship.
You know what word we use more of? Allegedly.
There you go.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. But I think to answer your question earlier about what's the ratio of how many people get caught, I think in most of these stories when they happen, well, it's proven, and we were talking off air about how you watch 48 hours, the first 48. What happens in most of these cases, I think, is many people get away from it, and then when somebody's not happy, they don't get paid or they get caught, well, then they offer up what they know of other people around them, and I think that's how a lot of this stuff, I'm going to guess, is getting exposed.
Well, look at you guys, and I say you guys as an outsider being from Maryland, but like you guys have been in the news lately, and the only reason is because an outsider came in and exposed what was a ring of fraudulent activity that apparently had been going on. Like apparently there was like news on that back in the early 2000s, and just nothing ever happened. So it's like, I don't know how much did they find that was continuing to happen over the last 20 some odd years. You know what I mean? What, 9 to the tune of about like $9 billion, something like that?
So do you think that it requires the public to come in and shine a light on it for the government to see it and do it? Or do you think it's when the public shines a light on it, the government or the politics at hand go, ooh, we should crack down. This is what the people want. We should step in now, or we have to step in because they're getting angry over it, right? Like, is it the public bringing it to their attention, or is it the public's attention's on it now we need to do something?
I think what people probably get more frustrated with is there are people that want to see people like this, do time and get punished. But the real frustration is when you start to think about, like, even going back to the instance I just referred to, how far up does this go and where are the consequences coming from? And those consequences too often seem to cease and just stop there.
Do you also think that the root here is the lack of punishment, or because people get away? Because if you look at China, how many people they execute
100%.
for corruption?
Yes.
If you want to really get rid of it, what should be the punishment in your opinion?
It's kind of that question, though, is like, who gets to decide where the corruption is? Because to your point, like, once you're high enough up the ladder, it's suddenly like, oh, it's not a problem anymore because this person's involved. So if they're going to be, I've talked about this in the past too, like the level of corruption is different in every country, right? If I go to Mexico, I can get out of a speeding ticket for $100 cash, whatever. I'm not sure, but depending on the area, $100 cash, I'm out. In the U.S., you have to know the judge or the sheriff or someone local, or you have to have a buddy in, the government somewhere. So it's like, the real question is, we know with humans in any kind of government, there's always going to be corruption. China has corruption, U.S. has corruption, Russia has corruption. Everyone has corruption. Do we want that bar of corruption higher or lower? Because in my opinion, I kind of prefer having corruption a little lower. I like that I can get out of stuff if, you have 10 grand versus what we're talking about now is like, well, should we regulate it more? Should it be bumped higher? To your point, there will be corruption at some point. At what point are we raising that bar outside of...
How many people do you think is involved to steal $15 million from Medicare?
I mean, it's health insurance. It can't be that many. That's $15 million in medical stuff. I mean, I can't imagine what each
10 people, 15 people. How many people touches?
5. You give me 5 dudes, and I'd say a year and a half, we could steal $15 million.
And it was also from 2018 to 2025, so that's like 8 years, 7 years.
It's like $2 million a year.
Yeah.
Think about like roofing wise, like how every company we deal with deals with at least 8 to 10 million in roofing.
And this one started. With them saying this one started with sex trafficking. That means sex trafficking is now. Hey, girl, want to come to my house here? I'll fly you.
When you have $94,000 transferred to women, Tinder, Cash App, and Zelle, that's the rest. Like that's probably how they got them.
They were sending the money to the women, probably having them come to the parties. We've seen it on the news here. It was in Eden Prairie, and then so somebody got unhappy, and then somebody snitches, and then down comes the house.
Yeah. It's typically, and very rarely, is it the investigation for the actual crime that shows the crime. It's they do something else stupid that gets them caught, right? The guy running into his brother in Australia.
Right.
The lady slipping and falling happened to do it at one different store and then got caught, right? So it's rarely
I think
the actual crime that gets
one of the biggest lessons here is money management lesson, because you've been driving the Rolls Royces, but both pleaded not guilty in April 2025 and claimed to have no money left, needing public defenders.
Wow.
I mean,
you're saying if you commit fraud, you should probably, if anyone here is committing fraud,
put 10% on the side for public defending later.
Yeah.
Save.
It even says he defended himself there at one point, asking for an attorney. So it was just terrible. I mean, any good criminal knows you have to put some money to the side.
Do they, Mike?
I mean, that's what I've read it on the wall somewhere.
He's read it.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Mike, your criminal knowledge is so much beyond what I imagine.
You have to understand them to understand who you'd not want to be,
Oh,
yes. That's what it is. All right, guys. Amazing show today. I hope you enjoyed our spicy stories today, and I hope you will join us next week during your morning brew, and we will be back.
Allegedly.